It is your planet. It's my planet. It's our planet. It's mostly my planet. And on this planet, baby, Strickland Propane has several divisions. Planet Hog, man. Hello. Hello, hello. I hope this Sunday finds you all well. Enjoying your damn day. This was a pretty good weekend for me. I spent a lot of yesterday with a little whippersnapper. One of the ladies' associates came over, and she's got a little kid. So we just kind of hang out while they do their thing. And you know what? Actually gave me some interesting perspective on the transgender argument. Uh-oh. Is hog defecting? No. Never. The perspective it gave me was, so he's kind of hanging out. I won't say his name because, he's a child. But we're just kind of hanging out. And he's looking for the dog, and the dog wasn't around this time. This was maybe 2 weeks ago. So he's like, "Where's the dog?" I'm like, "Oh, she had to go to the groomer so she can get shampooed and all this other stuff." He's like, "Wow, that's so cool. I wish I was a dog." And I just kind of not really thinking, just turned around and looked at him. I smiled. I was like, "Yeah, but she also eats her own poop." Immediately, his face frowns up. He's like, "Yeah, I don't want to be a dog." But let's let these people choose their gender. Anyhow, we were hanging out yesterday, and it was pretty cool, man. And it's refreshing to kind of be around the a point of view that hasn't yet been completely poisoned by the world that we're living in. Which there are people fighting to, remedy that because they see that as a problem. But we were kind of hanging out, throwing the ball in the back, and he was like, "Yeah, I want to get a flower for my mom." I said, "Okay, yeah, let's do it." And so he went out there and gave him a. Well, he actually found a box cutter and went out and did his thing. And I respect that. I just respect that adventurous spirit. Like little boys, they're basically superheroes. They really are. They have endless amounts of energy. They just want to run around, jump on stuff. They rarely get hurt. I mean, this little guy, we were hanging out in the back 2 weeks ago, and he was running around and he stepped on a piece of like safety wire so that somebody had left because somebody was doing, I guess, some roofing work a few houses down, and they just kind of left it. So he stepped on a piece of safety wire, and he's just like, a kid's reaction. Ow, 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 ow. What's up, man? Ah, I stepped on something. All right, well, come on back. And so he starts hopping, and he gets to a tree. He's like, I can't go anymore. All right, let me go see. And sure enough, it was sticking out one of his little toes, and I was like, all right. Picked him up, brought him back, threw some peroxide on it. That was it. And he's back out running again. He, at least over here, he eats virtually nothing. Doesn't want to eat. Just kind of wants to, play on his little iPad, which, whatever. But as soon as I get up to do something, or after a while, he'll kind of put it down of his own volition, and he'll be like, "Can we go outside?" I'm like, "Absolutely." So it's just kind of an interesting dynamic, when you're kind of thrust into a guardian type role of someone else's kid, finding where that line is or whatever. So I just kind of live my life, and if he wants to tag along, he can, and he usually does. Funny how that works. So we went out and got a flower for his mom, and happy that he got a flower for his mom. Absolutely, we want to nurture that. Yeah, you should, because mom is practice for how you're going to receive and perceive women moving down the line. But so that was good. I really appreciated that, and I really enjoyed that. I had to show him how to cut, so he didn't cut himself, and we went over some basic safety things, and he was on his way. Got his little flower. He's happy. He's got the knife and the flower. He's skipping back into the house. Hey, cut that skipping out, boy. I know, because I have a knife. No, because you're a boy. Anyway, I didn't come here to talk to you all about that today. What I want to talk to you guys about today is something near and dear to my heart. King of the Hill. It is on just a little bit of perspective for you. I think I've seen the series from beginning to end. I want to say 5 times. Now we watch it every night. I got the lady into it. I was watching it one night. She's like, "You're watching a cartoon?" I was like, I mean, that's a very general term, so I guess yes. But if you watch it for a little bit, you'll see it's not really made for children. So now she watches it every night going to bed. You're welcome, honey. But there are talks now about bringing it back, about a revival. Surprise, surprise, right? Not really, because and we'll get into this. What my biggest takeaway from this is. But first, let's talk about this revival that is being talked about. So for today, I pulled up an article from cheatsheet.com. Of course, it will be down in the description for you to peruse, but only at your leisure. So here we are, and the headline reads, King of the Hill, Hank Hill and Bobby Hill could reunite for series revival. King of the Hill is something of a sleeper hit among adult cartoons. Sleeper hit, I guess. Maybe this is a come lately. I think that's what this is. Because I don't know, if you liked it, you've always liked it. And I think, but there are some people who come, and I think that's with everything, though. People have a tendency to talk from their perspective, myself included. So it's like, if you do something they don't like, they'll be like, well, people don't like that. People, huh? Or you. Anyway, created by Mike Judge and Greg Daniels, the show focuses on the Hill family and their close friends and relatives in the fictional town of Arlen, Texas. Hank Hill represents the center-right everyman. More on this, because I kind of skimmed this article just to make sure it wasn't entirely too long, because we're talking about a potential TV show revival. I'm not trying to read 10 pages here. But as I skimmed it, I noticed a lot of this framing. You can very easily tell the political affiliation, if not the values of the person writing this article. And it started right here, calling Hank Hill center-right, because they can't acknowledge the right anymore. The only two options that aren't liberal are center-right, which means you are liberal, and far-right. Hank Hill, I would disagree with this person, and I would challenge, is not center-right. He's just right. He's just right. He goes to church presumably every Sunday. I mean, there's been several episodes set in church. There aren't a lot of episodes that are explicitly set on a Sunday. So usually when they set that in motion, it's just to kind of give you an idea that this is what they do, without having to show him going to church every other episode when it really doesn't play into the plot at all. There's usually times when he talks to God, either through prayer or something indirect. They say grace before they eat. I mean, and this isn't saying that there aren't liberals or center-right who do this, but who does this speak to overwhelmingly? Who does this encapsulate overwhelmingly? That would be people on the right, period, not necessarily center-right. The man supported George Bush, and on the George Bush thing, because I saw in one of the Reddit comments that one of the people were like, well, he should support Donald Trump. I think even the writer of this article echoed it. Oh, well, he should support Donald. Well, he should vote for Donald Trump, but he doesn't support him, or he should vote something where he's kind of walking back his support of conservatives, right? And then they tie the logic to the episode with George Bush. Oh, well, he supported George Bush, but then he didn't. But no. The reason why he didn't, that's the important part, and that's the part that didn't get brought up, I'm sure, in the chat room either. Because they're not King of the Hill connoisseurs like yours truly. The reason why he reneged on his support for George Bush, and we don't know that he actually did. He talked about it, that he went to Mexico and he came back, so we don't know that he actually did. But the reason why he was teetering was because the man had a infirm handshake. So judging a man by the caliber of his handshake, does that sound like a center, left, or right person? No, they have more advanced, more sophisticated measures. So what if I have a flimsy handshake? A man on the right, however, that means something too. Myself included. If I shake your hand, you have a weak handshake. We got off on a really bad foot. So, again, You got to kind of watch the framing of these things by people who are more interested in advancing their cause than doing justice and paying tribute to the character. And I think, well, I mean, let's just see what happens. He's all about football. He hated that his son tried to play soccer. Well, he did play soccer for a little while. He doesn't like that his son dances around. Doesn't like the comedy. But he's center right. Okay. Let's keep on going. The show won over fans for its warm-hearted approach to social and family issues. Here we go. Pay attention. Episodes often see Hank Hill learning about himself, his outgoing and open-minded son Bobby, or people he might simply otherwise write off as giblet heads. This is good. This is true so far. Now fans are clamoring with excitement after Reddit AMA with Brett Foster, in which Forrester suggested a revival is on the way. Brent Forrester, executive producer of King of the Hill, took to Reddit to answer a variety of questions about screenwriting and comedy. While many of the questions were specifically about careers in screenwriting, one user had another kind of question in mind. Quote, have you heard any updates as to the possible King of the Hill revival? Aging the cast of characters would be a stroke of genius and practically reinvent the show in an awesome way, asked one Redditor. Brent Forrester's reply will please fans of of Hank Hill, Peggy Hill, and Bobby Hill. Quote, I am sure Greg Daniels and Mike Judge will murder me for sharing this, but, all caps, hell yes. They are in hot negotiations to bring back King of the Hill, replied Forrester. Looks like he went on. The Trump administration made it suddenly very relevant again. The characters have all aged 15 years. The project is so good. Okay, I've said too much, he added with a smiley face. That's an interesting little cliffhanger right there. The Trump administration made it suddenly very relevant again. Oh boy, are they going to destroy one of my favorite shows? It looks like it. King of the Hill has never shied away from modern socio-political issues. Hank Hill belongs to a demographic who might normally be resistant to change. However, Hank redeems himself. So if you are resistant to change, you need to be redeemed. Hank redeems himself in most situations with his ability to accept and understand other perspectives, so long as they aren't too harebrained. Hank is a very pragmatic individual. Are you feeling it now? Are you sensing it? Do you feel the coercion? Do you feel how they're trying to reframe Hank Hill into their dream child of what every conservative should be? Someone who, quote, redeems themselves in most situations with their ability to accept and understand other perspectives. The understand is thrown in there as a garnishment. What they really are after is the first word, accept. But they can't just say with the ability to accept other perspectives, because that's not subtle enough for some. And you can even notice, for those who still don't believe that it was about accepting, notice the order. Accept and understand. While that is alphabetically coherent, A comes before U, that's not logically coherent. You would have to understand something before you accept it if you're an adult. If you are a rational person, you have to make your point make sense to me before I say, okay, let's go with that. So just perhaps another Freudian slip as the person who is writing this, but there's more. Let's see. We move back down. Fans of King of the Hill are especially fond of Bobby Hill and the dynamic he shares with his parents. This is very true. They especially enjoy the relationship between Bobby and Hank Hill, who is often confounded by his son's behavior and interests, center right, but who always winds up doing his best to understand and support Bobby. This is mostly true. There are times when he takes a hard stance. i.e., when Bobby went to play soccer, he said, all right, well, if you want to play soccer, but we're going to be playing football over here. So he wasn't supporting Bobby, but overwhelmingly, I would agree with this point. Overwhelmingly, I would agree with this point that he, he's a good father. And Bobby, simultaneously, is one of the things I do like about Bobby Hill's character is that he always, and put this to the test for those of you who watch this show. For those of you who don't, you should. It's really funny. It's actually very relevant right now, which I'll get into once I finish reading this article. We're almost finished. Actually, it's really just a bunch of questions and fans' opinions from here. So, actually, we can just call it quits from here. It's really just a bunch of people saying, hey, you should do this. Hey, you should do this. Hey, you should do this. Some of them are good. Some of them are whatever. So, but one of the things about Bobby Hill that I find very entertaining is that, number one, that he becomes whatever male he's around. He's heavily influenced by men, which I don't know if that was an intended consequence of this show, but it's true. Number one, it's true. I mean, I actually inadvertently just kind of gave an example that to lead the show off today, to kick the show off today. But they drill this point home because you watch every episode that Bobby is in, and whatever male is in a guardian position or in an authoritative position, he emulates. Whether it's the episode where he's hanging out with the dude that picks up poop, and he's like, yeah, picking up poop is where it's at. Whether he's hanging out with the school cop, and he becomes a little cop. Whether he's hanging out with the skaters, and he becomes a skater. Or even the episode where he becomes a beggar with the older high school kids. So it works with negative and positive influences. Whether he's hanging out with, what's that guy's name? Oh, man, I can't think of his name now. The man that Hank's mom is dating in the beginning. One of the first ones that she's dating, the Jewish guy. They live in Arizona at the retirement community. I want to say it's Gary. I think his name's Gary. Whether he's hanging out with Gary, and then Bobby kind of becomes an old man. He wears pens in his pocket and reads a newspaper. That was a funny episode. That was the episode that Joseph came back from summer camp, a giant, and voiced by a male. But anyway, put this to the test. Watch all these episodes, and Bobby becomes whatever man he's hanging around, which I think is a very important point. A very important point. The other thing I like about Bobby's relationship is just as much as Hank supports his son and loves and cares about his son, Bobby is, you can tell, one of his greatest motivators as a character is to get his father's approval, which I think is also pretty cool. Now, as to my opinion on the show coming back, number one, as you may have surmised, and as this person who wrote this article can surmise, because people who are, Hank belongs to a demographic who might be normally resistant to change. I'm resistant to bringing this back because I know it's going to be changed. First of all, again, the show is actually very relevant right now. It's completely unnecessary to bring it back, in my opinion. They touch a lot of the major issues that are going on. Now, not necessarily by name, right? They don't talk about critical race theory and Black Lives Matter by name in the show. Of course they couldn't have. It started in 99 or something like that, 97, I think. So, yeah, 97 to 2010. So they don't mention these groups by name, but there is an episode where, or for example, at Thanksgiving, Bobby goes anti-white. There is the episode of, the environmentalist episode is so funny. They made fun of the wokies before they even existed in this great a number. The environmental issue where Hank and Bill and Dale drove one of Boonhauer's one of his cars into, I forget what kind of car it was. But they drove it into a ravine accidentally. Dale did it, and then they tried to cover it up. Right, and then all these years later, Bobby's in some class with some activist as a teacher, and long story short. So that episode, they're making fun of wokies in. There's a lot of these episodes where they're making fun of wokies. There's the episode with the guy who plays, who's voiced by Chris Rock, where he's making fun of white people, and Hank's like, this isn't funny. So I don't know. I just don't. I like watching the show now, seeing stuff, and be like, wow, that is actually relevant right now. But they're gonna, if they bring it back, then what? Now here are my questions. If you're going to bring it back, well, number one, Khan can't sound like Khan. Somebody's gonna say that's extremely racist, and Khan is a funny character, mainly because of his caricature of an accent. Khan and Min can't sound the way they sound. That's racist. John Redcorn can't, well, let's see what you do with John Redcorn. Who wants to bet he turns into an activist? Which, look, you could argue that he was inching that way in terms of his character, but to me, he was just a disgruntled Native American, so I didn't really put too much activism on him, especially because, he was Poppin' Dale's old lady. As far as Bill goes, well, I think it's pretty... I would not be surprised if Bill becomes a member of the LGBT community. I mean, he's already worn a dress. He has a weird fixation with Hank that they kind of hint at a few times in a few different episodes. There's one episode where he said he had a dream where they were all naked. So I think Bill goes to the alphabet people, which will be, let's see. Will it be funny or will it just be annoying and off-putting? What about my man Boomhauer? What about him? He can't be a playboy. He can't be a ladies' man. God forbid we show little boys that they can be suave and charming and charm ladies. So what happens to Boomhauer now? Another character that, where do we go with him? And the scary thing for me is when they don't know where to go, then I just feel like you're more apt to just throw something on that completely contradicts who that character was to that point. And then depending upon the writing, right? Depending upon who gets control of the writing. Because that's what all of this is based upon. It's based upon the contingency that, some lefties get control of the characters and the writing. Well, if that's true, then I think there's two sets of characters that'll remain exactly how they were in the first. And those are Luann and Lucky, of course. The only thing we'll do with them is we'll throw all of the MAGA swag on them. Why? Because Luann is a moron. She can't put words together in a clear and fluid manner, almost like I did just there. And Lucky is just dopey. He looks dopey, and again, he's similar to Luann in that he doesn't speak very intelligently. So all we got to do with them is let's just throw some "Make America Great Again" stuff on them. Because that's the caricature of Trump supporters. One perhaps interesting dynamic is what do we do with Joseph? Right? Because for those of us who watch the show, one of the inside jokes of the show, I believe it's called dramatic irony. I'm trying to think back. Oh, man. When the crowd knows something that one of the characters doesn't. That's what I'm going for, that kind of irony. Well, that running joke was the fact that Joseph was clearly John Redcorn's son. I don't know how you can perpetuate that as their, 10 years later, when he's an adult and he can kind of see the difference in skin tone. So I don't know how you perpetuate that then. I think it'd be an interesting dynamic if you see Joseph kind of figure it all out, embrace John Redcorn as his actual dad, and then you have that dynamic between Dale and John Redcorn where, John Redcorn is once again taking something from Dale, only this time he knows about it. And then I think you have very interesting, it's just a very interesting and somewhat serious, maybe, I mean, you can have fun with it as well, where, Joseph may not want to be, I hate to say identified as Dale's son, but, there's something there with that for sure. So, Joseph, that would be something I would applaud if they did that, because I think that would make the show a little bit more nuanced in terms of it's not just a goofy comedy, it's not just a satire. We have some, what would you do kind of real life dramatic kind of points. So I'm looking at some of these threads on here, some of these suggestions that these people are making. And some people are saying that Dale Gribble should be QAnon, which is actually kind of funny to think about. It actually his character lends himself to that very, very easily. Another person says that Hank is a Trump supporter out of party affiliation more than respect for Trump. And it's very interesting. The person who wrote this article, or the writer, I should say, not the artist, but they pulled a lot of quotes that kind of lean a certain way. But anyway, again, I'll leave that in there for you to for you to look over. I just don't think this is good. Will I watch it? I'll give it a few episodes. I always give shows that I would otherwise watch a few episodes to disappoint me. Much in the way that Kevin Can Wait disappointed me. I was a big fan of King of Queens. Kevin Can Wait almost ruined King of Queens for me. It was so bad. And I felt bad for Kevin James. I really did. Because that woman they put him with, who was his wife, she was just, she is a cookie cutter female actor / comedian to me. Painfully unfunny. Painfully unfunny. And I had to watch him flounder for almost a season to the point where they had to bring Leah Remini back, and she just looks terrible. And I crushed on her hard in King of Queens. I was all about her in King of Queens. She has not aged well. I mean, her face looks like, she's got so much Botox or whatever injected in her fucking face. If she smiles, like, you'll see her fucking skull. Like, it's not even, oh, God, it's bad. And then they tried to do the same fat joke humor, but, newsflash, Leah, it doesn't work if you're fatter than he is. So, boy. Anyway, I would just hate to see them do this to King of the Hill. I really would, because I absolutely love this show. This is a great show. Buck Strickland is my spirit animal, and I'm afraid they might kill off Buck Strickland in the next King of the Hill. Why would he be around? And he is really just a great wild card character that just comes. He's always into something. He's always into something. He reminds me a lot of Boss Hogg. He just does. He's a southern white dude. He's a business owner. He's got power in his town. He's part of the booster club for the football team. So that's pretty much, in a small town in Texas, that's tantamount to political power. He's very wealthy. He's not this is a point for contention. Is he a good person that's just really bad, or is he a bad person that occasionally does good? Yeah, I go back and forth on that. But anyway, the overarching theme here for me is, why are we doing another reboot? Like, these people who are paid for being these creative individuals, they all need to be fired, because all they're doing is saying, okay, what haven't we done yet? Oh, let's give King of the Hill another shot. Well, I think there's a reason why you're seeing that, and it's because it's hard to be creative and come up with new things when you could lose your career if the woke mob doesn't like it. When you start to impose social restrictions on people, when people can't make jokes and point out the humor in things, because there's humor in everything, just about. Well, what's left? You are stifling creativity with your woke dogma, which is why I think you will start to see the rise of, I know Daily Wire did something with Gina Carano, but I think you'll start to see the rise of more conservative media. It doesn't have to be something goofy like I saw the My Pillow guy. He wanted to create his own social media platform. I also saw Donald Trump is creating his own social media platform. I'm glad that conservative people, or not people who are not part of the dogma, are doing these things. But the only thing I plead is, you don't have to give it some hokey name like Freedom Book or First Amendment page. Like, you don't just give it a regular, sleek product name, and don't be a bunch of censoring bitches. That's all. It doesn't have to fucking have a star-spangled fucking finish to it. Just make a good product and abide by the rules of the land. That's one thing that conservatives do that really irritates me. Like, you'll see conservative people, made in America clothes. People who make clothes in America, and everything is like an eagle or a flag, and it's like, okay, but can you make me just a polo shirt? Can you make me just some regular ass jeans? Can you make me some big ass jeans? Everything doesn't have to look like, Uncle Sam delivered it from the Statue of Liberty's womb. Fruit of the womb. Huh? So, I just don't. I hope just with these other things, to put a fine point on it, because that's not what we're really talking about. I just hope when they create these platforms that it's just not some goofy, hokey title. Just make a good product and don't be a social communist. I think that's it. Anyway, back to King of the Hill. Wrapping this up. I'm not really looking forward to this. I'm not. I'm really not. Although the idea, one of these people said that Bobby should be Bobby lends himself to being just a stay-at-home millennial. That's actually really funny too. That's actually really funny too. But overall, because if they start with the wokey shit, I'm going to turn it off, and I don't want to. One person, but I don't want it to ruin the whole series for me. I just don't. That being said, there is a way, right? Because Bobby's character is his natural opponent is Hank Hill in terms of their philosophies and their political beliefs. So Bobby could go woke, and it could be really funny. It's just a question if you trust the writers to be fair, to be honest, to be able to see the folly in wokeness and then have the balls to put it out there. I don't have that kind of faith in Hollywood anymore. There was a time when it was actually at the onset of this show in the late 90s when everybody had balls to rebel against the conservative Christian religious kind of culture of America. They made no bones about diving in against that. Now, can they do it against their own? I just don't know. So anyway, that's what I got for you all today. A little bit of King of the Hill, man. A little, damn it, Bobby. Let's see, y'all. I mean, look, I'm not gonna sit here and say it's all doom and gloom for me. There is a part of me that's very excited at the idea of new King of the Hill episodes because I love this damn show. But let's just see. Anyway, that's what I got for y'all today. Until next time, yahoos and triangles, y'all.